Good evening, guys. Good evening, everyone. A quick sound check. Can someone confirm if the sound is coming fine? Great. So, hope all of you had a great session today. It was a very clear trend day down, and it started with an open drive. So, we will come to that in a bit. So, let us have the weekly review of last week. First in Nifty spot and then Bank Nifty spot before we move on to the futures chart and see what was the auction doing today and how it is placed for the rest of the week. So today also was the last day of the calendar month of September. So we have the monthly closure today. So which is why we have not yet published the weekly report on the website. The weekly report along with the monthly report will be up today or max by tomorrow once we have the monthly references also in place. So we have the Nifty spot chart on screen, and what I have done, this is the weekly chart, but I have unmerged the weekly chart into daily profiles. So let us first have a look at what we did last week. Last week in the 5 p.m. session on Monday, we had discussed how we left a failed auction at lows. So if I enlarge this chart, we can see this FTPO which made an attempt to probe lower, but it failed. And the context of the open last week was we had accepted this spike zone of previous week, which closed on 20th of September. 25807 to 25849, I think, was the spike zone. And we accepted above that. And the attempt it made to get back into the spike zone was rejected. And we got a failed auction at 25847. So this 25847 became our new swing reference for the longs, and we had discussed that as long as this would hold, we can look for new highs for the rest of the week. So which is what happened. Even though we made a normal day 313 profile on Tuesday and made an attempt again to probe lower on Wednesday, we got rejected at the POC of that neutral extreme profile from Monday. So this failed auction was still in play and we did not break this. So that when we went on to give this spike higher on 25th, which was the Wednesday, we got the second neutral extreme profile of the week. So it was telling us neutral extreme was tells us that there are two equal forces playing out in the market, and one of those forces is advantage at an advantage at the close because one of them has given up. So in both these cases, on Monday as well as Wednesday, we saw that the sellers made an attempt to come in, but they were overwhelmed by the buyers, and the buyers made a confident close. So once this was done, we could take this 3-day as our reference and form a nice balance. So this is a nice Gaussian curve. So the second neutral extreme day of the week told us that the market has moved away from this Gaussian curve. So this 25955 became our reference on the downside as we entered Thursday. And Thursday we got this A period buying tail, which confirmed to us that the PLR was to the upside and that the buyer is now in complete control. So you can see how we got the A period buying tail and we went on to probe higher. We did get one steep pullback high, pullback low in the J period, but that got stopped right at this ATPO halfback of 26027, and we went on to make new all-time highs of 26248. So this was what happened on Thursday, and we had a close in an imbalance, and this extension handle of 26118 was our reference going forward. So on Friday, what we did was we continued the imbalance higher, and we went on to make new highs in the IB initial balance, and then we completed the 280R objective of 26272. 26272 was the 280R from the failed auction which we had on Monday, which was at 25847. So right there we completed that, and there we did not get any fresh demand. in spot, how can we know that we did not get any fresh demand? Because this was a seaside extension, and after the seaside, it also marked the end of the upside, one time frame to the upside, because the D made lower lows. And then we went on to break the IBL. That means we got one failed auction at the new all time highs of 26277. So this was a very clear sign that the upside is done in Nifty spot, and the upside which was triggered, a fresh imbalance which was triggered by the confirmation of FA on Monday, got negated by this opposite side FA at 26277. So what we went on to do in spot was we closed as a neutral extreme profile down, and this FA was very much in play, and we closed well below the IBL level. So we formed a balanced profile, but it was very clear that the trade facilitation was getting poorer on the upside. So it was very clear that the auction has to come lower to search for demand, because the demand was getting cut off at the new highs. So what was the weekly profile like? So this was the weekly profile, and it was a trend one to the upside. It was looking more like a double distribution trend one, with the POC at 25933 and one HVN at the top at around 26200. And what we did was we left an extension handle at this 26112, and we had a small zone of singles till this 26140. So this 26140 would have been our immediate support, with this 26200 as our reference on the upside. Because we closed below this 26200, this was our upside reference for the open today, and on the downside it would have been this zone of singles. And we could have expected, if we remained below this 26200, to fill up this zone, because this is not an ideal profile, and it has got lot of anomalies. So we could have looked at a fill up of this zone between this 25950 to 26200. And what did we do today? We opened lower, and as I mentioned, that failed auction was in play. So the failed auction, the daily failed auction, which was at 26277, had the 180R objective at 26053, and the 280R was at 25829. So it was also the T plus 5 day time frame from the failed auction we got on Monday. So it was also a time for a revisit of that failed auction in case we get confirmation that the sellers were getting more dominant. So what we did today was, I'll just shore up the TPO size so that we can get a clearer view. So what we did today was we opened lower. It was a gap down, and we negated this extension handle. So last week we had the extension handle or the spike low at 25807. So as long as we were holding the 25807 on Monday, we were bullish. But today, right at open, when we negated this buying extension handle of 26118, it was very clear that the seller were now in control. So this was an open drive down, and we went on to leave a good A period selling tail. So once the B period made new lows, it was very clear that the auction was headed lower, and we could get a revisit of this POC and the lows of previous week. And what would have been our reference after the initial balance was over? It would have been this ATPO halfback of 26070. So with this as our reference, we went on to confirm multiple range extensions lower. In fact, we had a trend day down setup in Nifty spot, and we went on to break below previous week's low and complete the 280R objective of 25829. We also went on to test this spike low of previous week, which was at 25807, and there you can see we have left similar lows, and the POC also has shifted around the lows. And this 25825 is also the 280R mark from that failed auction which we had at all-time highs of 26277. So this is how all these references are getting merged up in the market profile, and 25825 would remain one reference for us. And because this failed auction of 25847 has got negated and we have closed below, that will now now has a very good chance of showing change of polarity. So you can see how this LTPO pullback and this INJTPO halfbacks are right around that 25847 level. So with this as the reference, we can look for a continuation of the move which we have got today, and we can look for a probe lower, a tag of this 25716, and then this prominent POC of 25415. So these would be the downside objectives for this week going forward. Whereas on the upside, as I mentioned, this failed auction would be our immediate reference, and after which we have this extension handle around 25880. This 25880 would be the 3-day balance which we saw. If I unmerge this profile again, we merge the first 3 days profiles of last week when I was explaining those daily profiles. So if I merge these three profiles, you will see the value area low was coming right at that 25880 level. So this is where we left an extension handle today. And after leaving an extension handle in the H, you can see the JTPO half pullback held right there. So the auction is telling us that it does not want to get back into this value. That means the probe on the downside is not yet over. So this will be our reference along apart from the failed auction of 25847, and then we will look for downside objectives to be met. In case we get back into this value, then our objective would be this value area high, which means that the 80% rule will be on, and that value area high is also marked with today's halfback of 25961. So just as we are getting into a new calendar month, tomorrow would be the first day of the October calendar month. So for spot, it will be a fresh move. So we always give lot of importance to the starting of a month, starting of a week, and starting of a day. So, and we have the top to bottom approach. So the monthly open will be an important reference for us. And in case we get some definite cues at the open tomorrow, just like how the open of the week today gave us a very bearish view bias, the open tomorrow also will give us some important cue. And we have some news which is coming out in the evening today. So the volumes at the open could be affected by that. It is not the news which comes out, but it is the reaction, market's reaction to the news which will fetch us the MTMs. So we will have to wait and watch how the order flow shapes up tomorrow at open and what kind of open we get before we can look for a continuation of this trend which has started today or a bounce in the coming days. So this is as far as the Bank Nifty spot is concerned. As I've mentioned, 25825 would be the reference. Below that, we remain weak, and we will look for downside objectives of 25710 and a probable move towards this magnet of 25415, which is also the monthly POC of September. So we will update the VWAP series VWAP in the post which gets updated later tonight, because we will have to include today's action also. So 25415 is the monthly POC of September, and we will mark that as one important reference going forward. So that can be our objective for this week in case the fall continues, and the start which we have got on Monday goes continues till Friday, which is what we saw last week. The FA which came on Monday went on to continue the higher probe till Friday when we hit that 280R mark, and there we left a failed auction again to confirm a reversal. So let us now get back to the Bank Nifty chart, and let's have a look at what we did last week, the weekly profile. So Bank Nifty has been leading the rise, and if you see the weekly profile of last week, in case you have not traded last week and just see this weekly profile, it seems as if Bank Nifty was in a wonderful balance mode last week, because we have a nice Gaussian curve on the weekly profile, weekly time frame. And if I unmerge these profiles, it is only then we can make out that how we were bullish in Bank Nifty. We were holding this extension handle of 53712, which I had spoken about on Monday last week, and we left a period buying tail. And this A period buying tail was defended for the first three sessions. We got another A period buying tail on Wednesday, and then we went on to make these new all-time highs. 54417 was one swing reference which we were looking for from the last week, which got hit. But what we did on Thursday was, after hitting it, we left a responsive selling tail. So this responsive selling tail had to be taken out on Friday for us to be continue to be bullish. But what happened on Friday was we could not take off this selling tail, and we made similar highs. I'll just cut down on the TPO size so that we can have a larger view. So what we did last week on Friday was we could not take off this responsive selling tail, and you can see this LTPO halfback holding, and then we left a very small A period selling tail. So this is that RS plus IS combination which we look for in order flow, which was coming to us on a daily market profile chart. So this was confirming a short term top or a reversal. And what went more in the favor of the sellers was we made this range extension to the downside for the first time in the week. They were successful range extensions. Otherwise, we did have a range extension uh, on 24th also, but that was more a swipe in the L which we had, which made new highs and new lows. But otherwise, we did not make this kind of continuous range extensions where we left an extension handle right at the POC of Thursday, which was telling us that the seller is definitely more having more intent now, and this extension handle was not taken out, which led to further fall into the close. So what we did was the first half was bullish. We went on to make new all-time highs. And in Nifty, we left a FA on Friday, but in Bank Nifty, we left this responsive selling tail, which held on Friday. So the responsive selling tail was complemented by a very small initiative selling tail, which confirmed that the buyer is now no longer holding the auction. And what we did on Friday was a double distribution trend day down, where we have a zone of singles from 53975 to 54135. But overall on the weekly, how we saw it, we had a nice balanced profile with the value area at 53941 to 54201, and we had closed well below the value area low. So which is what was showing us, although we formed higher value on the weekly time frame, the close below value and this responsive selling tail on the weekly profile, plus the confirmation of a trend day down on the daily profile, was telling us now that the bank nifty may probe lower. And although nifty spot was not a bearish close at all, but just had that FA as our reference, bank nifty was completely bearish because we closed below the weekly value. So this was extension handle was our reference, and you can see how the open today was just below that extension handle. So when you're seeing this buying side reference getting negated by a sell side, that to an initiative selling tail, the A period, which is the first TPO of the day, and it was also the first TPO of the week. So it was telling you that the sellers are now looking for lower references. But what we went on to do in Bank Nifty spot and futures both was we did probe lower in the initial balance, but then the downside kind of got uh, stalled a bit because we did make multiple range extensions on futures F, I, J, L, F, I, and L, but the extensions were not too big, in the sense we are not able to complete even the 2 IB mark, I think, and we stalled right near the 1.5 IB in spot. So nonetheless, what we have done today is left an AP rate selling tail in the first day of the week. So this selling tail reference, the PTPO high plus this halfback of 53532 would be the important reference. And then you can see how this DTPO high has come right where I had mentioned. I had spoken about this extension handle in Bank Nifty spot on the Thursday session we had, which was at 53350, which was the all-time high previously, which was taken out with an extension handle on the daily time frame. So that extension handle no longer is holding, and in fact, this pullback high in the D is telling us that now that zone is taken over by the sellers. So that will be our immediate reference on the upside apart from this ATPO halfback. And we can look for continuation of this down move provided we get accepted below today's low. And then we can look for a tag of this buy side zone of 52542 to 52272 and this VPOC weekly VPOC of 52221. So that will be the reference on the downside in Bank Nifty spot. Whereas on the upside, we will need to get back above the pullback high and what was today's IBH, which is 53100. And you can see this 53100 line over here, which was a previously unvisited weekly VPOC. So that had been taken out a couple of weeks back. That became support, and now it has again been broken into. You can see the initial balance low was right there, so it was trying to hold, but once it got broken, now it is showing change of polarity. So this 53100 and this halfback of today 53324 would be the important reference on the upside apart from this ATPO halfback. And on the downside, we are looking for these a tag of this lower reference 52760 and this single zone of 52542 and the weekly VPOC of 52221. So let's see how this goes forward. The weekly profile has started on a bearish note, but and we have the weekly settlement tomorrow in Bank Nifty because of the holiday on Wednesday. So we will need to see how this plays out. And all you know, if the weakness continues, then we could maybe look for this test. So let us now quickly look at what we have done in the Nifty futures today, both in the profile as well as in the order flow, and see how the open type gave us a very good signal to go short. I'll also just quickly go through a put chart so that we can see how the order flow. We did have a session on Thursday where I gave you some live examples, so we can do another exercise today taking the latest example of a Nifty put chart. So you can see this was the Gaussian curve we left on Friday. And on Friday, an interesting thing what we did was in Nifty futures, although we did not get a failed auction confirmed on Friday, but that rejection at the all-time highs was there. We made a typical seaside extension which was not able to be taken out. And then again in the JTPO, we probed above IBH, but again we were met with rejection at 26395. So this IBL level, which was also the rollover point for Nifty futures of October, which was at 26310, was our reference. In case we opened below this, there was a failed auction, a multi-day failed auction, which was getting confirmed at 26403. And the 180R from that failed auction was at 26189, and the 280R would come down to 25976. So you can look at the open, it was right below that IBL, and that means the rollover point was negated. Point was taken over by the sellers. On Friday, we saw the rollover point getting demand. We were holding that rollover point, but today that was not the case. We opened and sustained below the rollover point. And if I come to the first 15-minute volumes of today, you can see how we have right at the top a 740 seller with a big zone of zeros on the buy side. We went on to close this 15-minute bar at the lows, and the POC also shifted lower. But the important thing was that this POC was not tagged in the following bar. This POC remained untouched. So that is telling you that the sellers are prevailing over here, and the volumes today for the first 15 minutes were almost 37,000 contracts. So which is not double the average, but definitely more than what we were generally seeing last week in Nifty futures. So the average was 24. Average of first 15 minutes was of the last 15 days was 24,000 contracts. So we did much well above it. So it was very clear that the range was expanding, and on the profile we were breaking this VWAP. This was a trend day which we had, and the break of the VWAP meant the buyers were not no longer there, and we could look at lower levels, which was this VPOC and this value area low, along with the 280R objective of 25976, which I mentioned. So what we the open type confirmed the bearish bias, and then we remained below this POC. We went on to form another IS bar in the B period. We remained below the latest POC of the 930 bar, and then we left an IS just when the B period started. So this 26180 became our fresh reference, and we were looking at the auction continuing the downside. So for continuation of downside, we needed the auction to show us lower lows on the 30-minute TPOs, which it went on to do. All 30-minute TPOs till the F made lower lows. So it was telling us that the seller is definitely strong, and we got IS, and then we got another couple of ISs inside 10 bars. So this is showing us, this is telling us that we need to remain on the short side, and even if we have missed or booked out the initial balance trade, this fresh IS is a sign that you can go freshly short at this 11 AM bar with the reference of this 26120 as your trailing stop loss. So this is how the order flow will confirm and tell us, ask us to remain in a trade or go for a fresh trade, or also tell us when we need to come out of the trade. So this IS high became our reference, after which the POC shifted down, and 26100 would be our uh, stop loss in the stone, you can say, for remaining short for the rest of the day. You can see how we had a small balance, but then the downside continued in the I period, where we made new lows and we got another IS bar, and then this POC before the IS bar became our new reference. And then how in the K period we got a fresh IS signal, and we went on to make new lows for the day. We just stopped short of hitting the 2IB objective. You can see that in the market profile chart, the 2IB objective was at, I think, 26939. So we made a low of 25951, and here you can see these three bars, all three bars are overlapping POCs. So that is one clear sign that the auction may be looking at profit booking by the sellers. And once that RBs, multiple RBs are coming on 15-minute time frame, it is always suggested that we book out. 26020 was the pullback high we got in the L period, and what we have done is the POC is also shifted lower to around 25985, which was that 280R objective from the multi-day FA of 26403. So this will be our reference to 25990 roughly would be our reference for the open tomorrow, and this 26036 would be the upside level to watch out for, along with today's VWAP. We have a trend day down today, so this 26085 VWAP would be the swing reference now for remaining biased on the downside in Nifty futures for this weekly settlement. So we will definitely need to take off this RBPOC tomorrow at open for more downside to come in, and on the downside we can look for a tag of this VPOC of 25886, and then this VWAP of 258783 in the coming sessions. So this is as far as the Nifty futures is concerned. As I mentioned, let us have a look at the options chart and see how the order flow showed us some good setups. So what I'll do is I'll go to the open, and there we have seen how we select the strike prices of the option. So the gamma 0 was at 26,000 and the gamma range was 26,300 to 26,000. So let us go with the 26,300 put chart and open the market profile chart and move on to the order flow. We'll do a quick review of the order flow. So let's have the order flow chart and see what were the setups we got in this option at the open. So we have already discussed how the open type was an open drive. So, and in futures, we already saw that happening. So let us see if we get the same kind of signals and setup in this 26,300 put, and what were the references be for a re-entry into the trade and your trailing stop loss. So I'll take off this global volume mode, and you can see the opening bar. This is the 3-minute order flow. You can see how we have zeros on the sell side, and we have made a good candle to the up. And what the next bar does is giving a green bar closed above VWAP. So this 210 becomes our reference. And because it was a drive open, which we could make out in the futures, Nifty futures, we should be looking at going long in this call. So above VWAP option longs are definitely suggested, and this close, even if not at this close, the 930 bar, which we saw giving a new IS signal in the Nifty futures, was the next best signal to enter into this put, and the entry into this put on this signal would give us the stop loss for that trade would have been 239, because it was the POC before this green bar. So it went on to probe lower and it gave us the IB at 945. So once you get an IB signal, the POC before, because this POC is overlapping, we can take this POC as our reference. So 275 becomes our reference and we continue to hold one part of the trade. And then what we did, we made the IB, we made a small retracement. As you can see, this retracement was holding this initial balance IB candle lows. So it was telling us that uh, the downside in futures is still not done, and we can expect some more higher targets in this put. So which is what happened. We did get this IS, but the IS was not able to negate this IB low, and then we went on to make new highs, but they were all coming on RS bars. So even here, you're not confidently getting any fresh buy entry. So we will have to wait for a good IB bar, which is come here at 1124. So we already know that the trend is to the downside, and but this option was not showing us any fresh re-entry levels. So this IB bar was our fresh entry. We got reds in the Nifty futures at the same time, and we discussed this in the room also live, where Bank Nifty was not giving us any signal to go short after the initial balance, but Nifty did give us the signal here that you can take a fresh short position. So with this POC before the IB bar, which is at 355 as your stop loss, we enter into a fresh long side trade in this put. And as you can see that POC held for the rest of the day, and we went on to make new highs. So we got another IB, although it was more than 10 bars since that previous IB. But the more important point was that we are holding that IB lows and the IB POC. So we went on to make new highs. We left another IB in the 130 time frame, but it was followed by a RS. And immediately once we broke this IB low, it was telling us that you can the uh, book out profits in this and trail to maybe your entry point or a lower reference. It it was still no way going to show us that the down move is over in Nifty futures, because the order flow of this put was not at all giving us any IS signals. So this is what it closed as, without any IS, but you can see how it gave us some good signals at the open, and then again at 11:30 to take a fresh short trade, a fresh long trade in the put and a short trade in the Nifty futures. So this is how we make use of the options order flow and select the strike price based on the whatever the spectrum is. So for tomorrow, or if I come to the close of today's day, the gamma wall range is from 25,700 to 26,000, and the spot is closed around, I think, 25,810 today. So 26,000 put will be the strike price to look for trading long puts tomorrow. And on the downside, you can look at 25,700 call or 25,600 call. So look at the order flow chart of that at the open and see how we are reacting and what signals we are getting, uh, and if that is in sync with the futures data. So let us now quickly open up the Bank Nifty futures chart. So Bank Nifty, as mentioned, has been leading, and it gave the reversal sign before Nifty. So you can see how on Thursday we made these poor highs, and poor highs here was telling us that the demand is cutting off at this zone. And how after these poor highs we again left poor highs on Friday, which was giving reconfirming the fact that the demand is not coming in at the higher levels. On Friday when we closed, we had two important references. One was at 54610, which was the POC of the L period, and the second was the HVN of 54500. So the open on Friday was stuck between these two. It got demand at this 54500, but it was not able to take out this reference of 54600. And when we left poor highs there, it was up to the sellers to take advantage of this situation, and they did that in the D period. And you can see how once we broke below this 54500, we were not able to get back above that. The E and F highs were just below it, and we went on to leave an extension handle in futures also and form this double distribution trend day down. So our reference for today was this POC, which had come down into the close, and this VWAP would have been a swing reference for the shorts to hold on to their bias. So what we have done in Bank Nifty is also formed a 5-day balance. So in fact, we can use this 5-day composite as our reference for tomorrow's settlement as well as for the next week's one. And this value area low of 54713 would be the level to watch. What we did today was we negated this buying tail from last week, and we went on to leave a big A period selling tail. We broke this POC of 53884, and we went down below VWAP of 53761, and even took off this pullback low of 53500. What we did after the initial balance was we saw some demand holding this 53500 level, which is why we were forming a balance in the afternoon. And we did make that attempt to probe lower in the I period, where we negated this buy side selling buying tail of 53,390. But again, we got a RB POC. So I'll just mm, add the order flow chart of the Bank Nifty with the profile so that we can see what kind of an open we had. So again, I'm switching it to the 15-minute order flow chart. You can see very clearly on the 15 minutes at the open how we remained below previous day's lows, and then we negated this buy side selling tail. So here you can see zeros right at that 53,960 level. So this was added confirmation of sellers being in complete control, and how this POC of 53,880 was not tagged in the next bar. So that became our fresh reference, and we got this IS when the B started, and we left this extension handle at 53,700. But what happened after that was that IS did not get any follow through. In the sense, we could not break below that lows. And what instead we began to do is we began to form a balance in a narrow range. But the order flow did give us one very important cue when we made a test of VWAP in the D period. Is in the test of VWAP, it showed zeros on the buy side. So when you know the open is strong and open is with the sellers, this kind of a action in order flow gives you a fresh low risk entry to get back into the trend. In Nifty, we did not get any VWAP test because Nifty was weaker, but the re-entry in Nifty came in form of a fresh IS signal. But in Bank Nifty, you can see this was an IS and how we were not able to take off this IS high. And at the test of the VWAP, we left a new RS. So this is a place where you could have taken a trade based on a RS signal also, because it is coming in sync with the IS it gave before. It needs to be noted on what it is doing context wise, plus because the risk is very well defined over here. And this zone is still a fresh short zone till the time the order flow does not show us buy side volumes coming in here. So although Bank Nifty was not able to make too big a range extension, this VWAP tag did tell us that it is going to test the lows and even go for making new lows and test that buying tail of 53390, which it did. And when we made those new lows, you can see how we got an RB bar. So when you're getting an RB bar and you're getting green caught with greens coming in, you know that this is the time to book your short positions and wait for a fresh signal. So the fresh signal could come in either in a form of an RS at a prior reference, like we got one at VWAP, or a fresh IS. So this RB was then again followed by an IB, but this is still profit booking because we are above below VWAP. So till the time we don't show greens at VWAP, we can always expect the sellers to come back and continue the probe lower. So after this, what we did is we got zeros here on the buy side. It went back to almost tag this NPOC of 53381. But then we are not able to break that and we remained in the narrow range into the day. The POC has shifted lower to this 53440. And if we go to the options table and check out how the gamma is placed for tomorrow. Yeah, this is 01 October, not 1 October. Yeah. So the gamma 0 as of close is at 52,500 to 53,500. And the the gamma wall range. And the gamma 0 is at 53,000. So the close in Bank Nifty is at 52,978 today. So it is around the 53,000 mark. So we will need to see how it figures out. And for trades tomorrow, we will need to see how it is reacting at the spot references. As mentioned, this pullback 53100, which would be an important reference, and this halfback of today, which is at 53324. So as long as we are holding the selling tail of both futures and options, we are looking for more downside in both Bank Nifty and Nifty. But we will have to then go with the latest information when the market opens tomorrow at 9:15, and based on what order flow signals and the caught reading we get, we first figure out what the open type is and then accordingly look to take trades in that direction. So let's see what kind of an weekly settlement we have. For now, the range is 52,500 to 53,500, with 53,000 being the upside mark. And as I mentioned, 53,100 would be that swing reference. So in any bounce we get tomorrow, we will have to see how the spot is reacting to that 53,100 mark. And on the downside, the spot is looking for this 5221 objective later in the week. That will be if we remain below today's value in the session tomorrow and give some sell side references, which confirms that the seller is continuing to be in control. So that is it for today, guys. If there are any questions, you can please post them, and I'll be happy to answer them before we sign close in for the day. So I guess there are no questions which are coming in. So let us then sign up for today and see how this week goes. We have a holiday in on Wednesday, so the Bank Nifty and Fin Nifty settlement would be tomorrow. So make sure you are making use of the option table and the spectrum range, and are seeing how the options are building OI at the gamma zero level for a probable good trade Dukan setup in the K period or later. So that is for Nifty and for that is for Bank Nifty and Fin Nifty tomorrow. So whereas the Nifty settlement would be on Thursday after the holiday break which we have. So it looks to be an action-packed week, and it'll be the start of a new month. So let us see how this goes, and we will update on the website with the monthly and the weekly report, where the monthly references will be marked. So the rollover point of 54340 in Bank Nifty and 26310 in Nifty will remain the important upside references for the rest of the month. So let's see how this month goes, and whether it will continue to uh, go by the template which we have seen in the last few months, which we spoke about on Thursday, that the first part of the month gives us a downfall, and then which gets arrested maybe by the second week, and then we see a up move into the close. So last 3 or 4 months we have seen the same template playing out. So let's see how far this down move which has started today continues in Nifty, and then what kind of a structure the monthly chart gives us in October. So thank you for joining in, guys. Signing off for now, and let us catch up very soon with another such session where we can learn and grow together. Signing off. Thank you, guys.